Welcome to the Ruby Bandit Super Secret Fan Club, episode number 1. Today is April 19th, 2023, and I'm recording these episodes on Wednesdays, at least that's the plan, and also releasing the show on Fridays. Again, that's the plan. This might be the only episode. I might have more episodes, but I want to give this another shot. I am Raz Holly. It's going to be a solo show, so I don't have anyone else with me. I have a feeling that most of the shows are going to be just me, but I would like to get other people on the show with me too. If you guys hear any scurrying or that kind of thing around, I do have 2 puppers, Bunny and Bandito, so that's probably going to be them in the background. So what's been going on with the channel? So of course, some of you guys might know that I do have a Patreon, and I've been posting on there updates about what's been going on with me, what's been going on with the channel, what are plans for the channel, that sort of thing. I try to post on Tuesdays when I can. If I can't, I'll post it a little bit later, but right now I'm trying to schedule Tuesdays to be that day. So if you guys would like to support the channel in any way, you guys can go to Patreon, and of course I'm under Ruby Bandit, and you guys can become patrons there. And if you are a top tier patron, Jade Bandit patron, you get to vote on the topic of the last video of the month, and then you also get to vote for the last video of the month. So you also get that perk if you're the mid-tier bandit, the Onyx Bandit tier. Top-tier bandits are $10, mid-tier bandits are $5. And then if you just want to support the channel, get the news and stuff like that, get videos early. I try to post those a day early, or actually, as I've been doing, as soon as the video is done, I go ahead and run it over one more time, and then I post it right up. So this month, I actually have a timed exclusive that's going to come out later on. So if you want to check that out, it's in my Patreon page. So other things that have been going on, I don't know if you guys know that I have moved to North Carolina from San Diego, and it hasn't been very good for me. A little bit of history. Back in 2019, I got swine flu, and I almost died. This happened at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. So I have a feeling it was early COVID and they didn't know how to treat it. So I almost passed away, but I lived on through that. And my lungs have been damaged ever since, still damaged today. And it's been just years later. I came here because of my fiance, and we were arguing about her going to San Diego or me coming to North Carolina, and I just decided to bite the bullet and move to North Carolina, which is probably one of the worst decisions I have ever made, aside from leaving the military. I used to be in the Navy and I left. That's the worst decision of my life. So my second worst decision of my life was to move to North Carolina. Mainly because as soon as I got here, a week later, I was in the hospital again for more lung problems. So after that, let's see, it hasn't even been a year. I have been in North Carolina since August. So I have been to the hospital a total of like 3 or 4 times now. That's not a good record. And the first time I went to the hospital, the doctor was saying how things were only going to get worse if I stayed because of the pollen season. North Carolina does a lot of tobacco farming. And there is just fields and fields and fields, especially where I live, where it's a small town. So all that pollen just covers everything. In San Diego, it would be the ashes from the fires. Out here, it's the pollen. So it looks like, when they do that running with the colored chalk, that's what I thought it was. I was so confused as to what this yellow chalk was, because I've never seen anything like it. Well, since the day of the big pollinating, as I like to call it, which was about 2 months ago now at this point, I have a cough and it hasn't gone away. And not only that, but also when I lean back or stretch or whatever, I get these coughing fits that are really, really bad, and it has a chemical taste to it. Not a blood taste, not a copper taste. It almost tastes like chlorine, but it also tastes like another chemical. So, of course, I go to the doctor and like, hey, I thought this was just a cough. I had a chest X-ray, I had a CT scan, and it turns out I have pneumonia, but also I have what they call a nodule in my lung. It's benign, which means it's not cancerous or anything like that, but I have something in my lung, and I'm assuming that's what's making this whole stretch thing, because I do feel like there's something in my chest. That's been really difficult. I haven't had a good night's sleep since this coughing started, so that really sucks. Anyway, enough about my medical stuff. So the channel, I've been just trying out new things. This month, April, it was supposed to be Turtles month, but I'm telling you, this pneumonia has just really, really kicked my butt. So I have no energy most days. I think that's why I can do this recording just fine. But when it comes to having to, get up, go to the storage, take out toys, photograph the toys, just running around the house, doing house stuff, there's so much that I do, and I have no energy because this pneumonia has taken it out of me. So, yeah. So there's that. Also, I am planning on moving to San Diego, back to San Diego, as if you didn't know from what I just mentioned. So that's another thing too. I have to raise the money to go back to San Diego so that way I could be a little bit more healthy. I know I was going to stop talking about the medical thing, but I guess I didn't realize it was going to be this big part of the plot of what's going on in my life right now. So I am going through my toys on the weekends when I can, trying to get all the energy I can. Go to the storage. I have a list of stuff that I have to bring back for videos to make. I go to the storage and just go through every single tote and just take out things that I would like to sell. Right now, I am in the process of the things that are easy, things that I could just look at and I don't need this, and just put it aside and it's done. So that's where I'm at right now. The next step after that would be going through all the stuff that's a little bit harder. So stuff that's like, do you really need this? No, I don't really need this. And then that's going to go into the for sale bin. And then the last step, of course, is going to be the really hard stuff to get rid of. So at this moment, my fiance and I have decided we want to keep the turtle collection intact. But there may be a few figures that I don't really want and could get rid of. For example, right now I am looking at the Mondo Gecko cartoon, the cartoon version of Mondo Gecko from NECA. I don't really need it. I mean, sure, he was kind of cool in the show, but I don't really care too much about him. So something like that, it's going to end up going. And there's a few other figures. I do like Zack. I don't have the rest of the Crooked Ninja Turtles. I've always wanted them, but I kind of feel like, well, why do I need the boss? Because he came with Zack. So I may get rid of the boss, but I'm not sure yet on that part. So, but that's just on the Ninja Turtle stuff, and I'm starting to trail off about the stuff that I want to get rid of. So there's that, and this channel, of course, began to grow because of the core. My first 1,000 members were, or subscribers were core fans. So you'll be glad to know that I'm not getting rid of very many core items just because I know that is a big part of this channel. So I am going to keep the core stuff. Of course, there's a few items where I'm done reviewing them. I need the space. So that stuff may be going up for sale. Yeah, so I'm getting rid of a bunch of stuff, a bunch of video games, and get ready to move. When I moved down here, I moved with just about everything. I had so much stuff that it didn't all fit in one of the biggest U-Hauls that we can afford. So we ended up spending close to $10,000 just to move. I do know that some of that, because this was supposed to be my forever home, some of that was spent on let's just have fun because we're not going to have this trip again. At least that was the thought at the time. Nowadays, I am, you know what, let's do this as economically as possible. So I would love to keep everything. I really would. And maybe start up like a sale thing in San Diego where we go to the swap meet, put up a booth, and every weekend just sell toys. That's not going to be the case anymore. I'm going to try. Like I said, I'm going to try as much as I can to take everything. But the way things are, all the prices going up and everything, it's just not going to happen. Let's see. More stuff for the channel, because maybe I should do a mini channel update. I do all my updating, like I said, on my Patreon. So we got April. It's supposed to be Turtles month, but now Turtles month is canceled, even though it's just one video. That's all I was able to put out for this month. Next month, I do have a, of course, like every year, I try to do a May the 4th Star Wars Day video. So I got that in the works on top of the end of the month video, which is, it's kind of funny. They both kind of relate. They're both about miniatures, which was the winner for the end of the month video. So they're both miniatures. And then we have May, which I have this list of scripts that I've written about anime. So we got anime in May. So we got a few videos for that already on there. Hopefully I can get to them. And also something that I haven't been talking about on the YouTube channel, which is I am about to reach 300 videos or reviews, whichever you want to call them. I don't call them reviews because I don't really review everything. With everything that I make, I'm not really reviewing it. I'm mainly just giving you guys the information. Sometimes I'll give you what my thoughts are, my opinions on a toy or whatever are, but this is a channel where I just kind of want to give out information. I don't know. There's too many people doing reviews, and I'd like to do something else, something that's just more informative. And I find that kind of stuff more interesting anyway. Whenever I look for videos, I don't quite look for reviews. I look for more information. So yeah. So that's what we have going on. We have some histories coming up. We have a card game coming up. We have the 300th video coming up. Not sure exactly which one's going to be, but it will be after the Star Wars video. Star Wars video is going to be my 299th video. So shortly after that, we'll be seeing the anime video, number 300. Like I said, I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. But that's what we got. That's the intro. It's a little long. I don't know. I listen to the CU podcast, at least the specials now, because they pretty much just quit after 350. Really sucks. That was my podcast to listen to. That was like the podcast where as soon as an episode came on, I would listen to it. I'd get all my, pop culture and video game news from them. Now I got no one, so I don't know. I'm willing to give some other people a try. I used to listen to The Nerdist, but nah, that's not really me. So I just listened to the Retroist podcast, which they just talk about one. He just talks about one thing and gives you the history of it, which is great. It's awesome. It helps out with my videos as well. And of course, Retro Blasting being one of my most favorite channels of all time. At least used to be. Now I'm just I don't really have a favorite YouTube channel. because now there's not really any more toy videos. It's just kind of all over the place. I'm starting to reflect, and it kind of sounds like my channel. Anyway, I do have their podcast is in my docket. I don't listen to it very often, and mainly it's not really Michael French. It's his wife Melinda that does that and talks about the stuff that she likes, as she should. So, their podcast, they can do whatever they want. And then of course I have stuff like That Chapter, which is it's a true crime channel or podcast. I watched the YouTube channel first, and then I joined up in the podcast, but I don't really listen to it. Gotta be honest there. If I can watch the show, I'd rather do that. And This Is Monsters. That's another one that's a true crime that I have on there. And again, I watch the YouTube channel, so I don't really listen to the podcast. Yeah, I don't really have a podcast I listen to. Okay, anyway, for reals this time, I'm done with the intro, and I got a few topics, so let's get to it. So, there's been this rumor that HisTank.com came out with, and it's that G.I. Joe was going to do a reboot, or as I like to call it, a ReReReboot, because they had the cartoon movie, and then they rebooted that into that other movie, the first live-action G.I. Joe movie, which wasn't that great, and then they rebooted that with Snake Eyes, and now it's being rebooted again, and they're talking about doing this with Michael Keaton, which is kind of weird. I don't know who Michael Keaton would play. Maybe Hawk. I think somebody had said that in one of the comments, and it's like, yeah, I could see him as Hawk, one of the older guys. Who knows? Maybe he'll be Cobra Commander this time. I don't know, but the producer is going to be... They're talking, at least in the rumor, the producer would be David Ellison, which is kind of weird because he already did the G.I. Joe Retaliation thing. So it's not really anyone new. They're just kind of going backwards with it. It's really weird. And then the current producer, the one for like Snake Eyes and stuff, is Lorenzo di Bonaventura. So Italian name. So we can take a look at like some of the films. I just kind of went through it real quick, and Bonaventura, he did Bumblebee, which I haven't seen it, but I like the visuals. It makes me actually want to watch a Transformers movie for once. The Transformer movies, they turn me off. So Bumblebee, The Meg, wah, wah. Yeah, no thanks. El Chicano, nope. Transformers, Age of Existence, no. G.I. Joe Retaliation, no. And Doom, no. Also Transformer Revenge of the Fallen, no. Like, that's your current guy. Your current guy is this guy that does these cheap movies. Okay. And then, let's get the new producer, or going back to the old guy. So we got The Greatest Beer Run. Yeah, with that name alone, no, I don't want to. I don't care. Like, really, The Greatest Beer Run is just, it's just sounds cheap. It's just pandering. Just make a movie to make a movie. Give me a break. Terminator, Dark Fate, and Genesis, no. G.I. Joe Retaliation, no. Star Trek Beyond, no. Star Trek Into Darkness, no. And Jack Reacher. I've heard nothing but good things about Jack Reacher, so yeah, I haven't seen it, but I don't know. I mean, there's a little bit of, something there, I guess. So this is what I don't understand about these G.I. Joe movies. Let's go back and think about the Ninja Turtles movie, the 1990s Ninja Turtle movie that everybody still talks about. As soon as you say the Ninja Turtles movie, nobody thinks about TMNT. Nobody thinks about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Nobody thinks about any of those movies. Everybody goes straight to the 1990s movie. And that movie is based heavily on the comic books. So whoever was doing that movie was looking at the comics, and they were like, yes, let's put in this, let's put in this, and let's put in this, and make it one full movie. And it came out great. It came out great back then, and it's still great now. So using that as an example, why haven't the producers, and I know a lot of people have mentioned this, why haven't the producers for G.I. Joe or directors or whoever been like, hey, let's look at the G.I. Joe comics? Another great example of a success is Iron Man, the first one. That's straight up from the comic books. They added a few things here and there, but they didn't stray very far from it. Of course, they had to update. They had to update from Vietnam to current times, at least at the time. So nothing is stopping the people that are trying to make G.I. Joe into a movie. Nothing is stopping them from looking at the comic books and being like, yep, this is what we should do. Oh, Snake Eyes' history? Yeah, let's look at the origins of Snake Eyes. That would be amazing, having him, Stalker, and Storm Shadow be friends in Vietnam. Or in this case, it'd probably end up being something in the Middle East. So that would be cool. Having him not talk, having him remain mysterious. Like, it's such an easy thing to do. And it's already written for them. The storyboards are there from them. All they have to do is just cut up the comic book and place stuff. So I really don't know why they keep trying to reinvent the wheel with G.I. Joe. And they keep failing at it. And they're just not learning. They just don't learn. So that's just what's been going. That's just something that I saw, that there was a rumor. So who knows? It's probably not even going to happen. But hey, talking about the G.I. Joe movie, it's way long overdue in my channel. But you know what was, I guess you can call it a reboot? Usagi Yojimbo. So the new Usagi Yojimbo series has finally been released. If you didn't know, Usagi Yojimbo was being produced by IDW, or published by IDW, and Stan Sakai decided that he didn't want to use them anymore, so he went back to Dark Horse, and Dark Horse offered him his own imprint. So it's called Dogu, and the first issue has finally been released, and it's a crossover with the Turtles. So that's how they're starting off the new story. It's actually pretty cool. There's gonna be some spoilers here, so if you haven't read it, you can go ahead and fast forward a little bit. So it starts off with Usagi and his crew. Well, not his crew, but he's with this group of other samurai and stuff, and they end up going to this village. And in that village, there's this old man, and he's just like, hey, there's been Kappa around, and they've been killing villagers, and can you guys please help us kill this Kappa? And of course, Usagi's just like, sorry, can't do it. We're kind of on our own mission right now. We're trying to get to this other thing that's going on. And the villager just keeps pleading him to save them. So he's like, all right, well, let me see what I can do. And he goes and talks to his master and everything. And the master's like, well, I mean, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But just know you got to be here right before we leave. So you got a few hours if you want to take care of this. So Usagi goes, and he has 3 of the other characters come with him. I guess at this point, I haven't read all the Usagi Yojimbo comics. I'm still in the middle of reading all of them. But some of them are married or whatever. And the 4 of these warriors go with this old man. And he's like, this is where he's been spotted. He's either up the stream or down the stream. So the group splits up 2 and 2. Usagi's group, or him and his partner, they end up finding the Kappa and killing it. Meanwhile, the other group, they're just like, I don't see the Kappa. Maybe we should just go back. So they start coming back and they see this flash, and then that's kind of where it stops. Meanwhile, in New York City, the Turtles are following this guy. I think his name was Dr. Wenware, or just Wen. I just remember it was Wenware. I don't remember if he was professor or doctor. But this guy, I guess he's a time traveler, and they're trying to stop him, and he ends up getting away. So Donnie ends up coming. He's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get his machine working. So he goes in, and they try to chase him back in time, and they end up showing up in Usagi's world, and that's kind of where it all ends. So it's really cool. I really like it. I ended up getting 2 copies because I really wanted the Stan Sakai cover, and I also wanted the Kevin Eastman covered. So whenever I do buy the Turtles comic books, I try to get the Kevin Eastman covers when I can. So if I buy the books in a bulk, like like in a 6-pack or something from Ollie's, then I'll get whatever covers there. But I do prefer the Kevin Eastman covers for all the Turtle stuff from IDW. Of course, for this, I'm gonna want to have all the Stan Sakai covers, which he usually does. There's been a few covers that I really liked from the IDW series, so we'll see how that goes. I looked at the other covers for this book, this Doga Usagi Yojimbo book, and they're pretty neat, but they're not as good as the Stan Sakai cover. So there's that. I think this is gonna be one of those books that I'm gonna try to just get everything from. Same with the IDW Usagi Yojimbo. They introduced Usagi's cousin right before Stan Sakai left. So his cousin is in this one. So it does seem like it continues on from the IDW days. So that's kind of cool. I would definitely recommend picking one up or reading it wherever you can. So yeah, it's Usagi Yojimbo #1 from Dark Horse Doga. So that's pretty cool. I've always been an Usagi fan, but I've just been getting more and more into him because of all the resources that are available to us these days to be able to read all of his books and all that. So I do have a long overdue video on Samurai Rabbit, the Usagi Chronicles. It's long overdue. I let a friend of mine talk me out of the original video that I was going to do. So I was originally going to look at the press release and comment on that, because there was a lot of stuff on there that I read and I was just like, no, it's not going to be like this. And sure enough, after the show was released, it was exactly what I predicted. So now with PandaCon, with the PandaCon show, they have a press release for that, and I'm kind of in the same boat again that I was with the Usagi Chronicles. So I think I'm going to do that very soon here, because the show does release in 2023, which is this year. I'm going to make that video, and I'm going to, I'm not sure when, but it has to be soon, because I don't know when that show's being released. They just said coming in 2023, and they've been releasing character designs and all that stuff. So moving on from Usagi Yojimbo, which I'm a big fan of, to another martial arts thing, which is Power Rangers. So before I talk about the Power Rangers special from Netflix, let's get into the new releases from Hasbro. Now, I used to collect Power Rangers Lightning Collection just because, I'm a fan of Super Sentai and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, SPD, and also Lost Galaxy. I thought those 3 were really good. Oh, and of course, Beast Morphers, which I absolutely really love. Anyway, so they decided to release a few new figures. So, of course, we're finally getting our first Turbo member. So that's cool. We're getting a few remakes, which is great for me because I sold all my, well, with the exception of the Yellow Ranger and the Green Ranger, I sold off the rest of my Power Rangers because I didn't really like the helmet sculpts on any of those, so I kept the ones that I liked. Um, except for even the Black Ranger, I got rid of that one, and I like the helmet sculpt on that. But anyway, so I got rid of those. So they're doing some remasters of these guys, and I'm hoping. It looks like the helmets are done right, so that's really good. But the main thing that I want to talk about is the new Rita Repulsa figure. It's the same thing as before, new hands, but the head sculpt. People, oh my god, it looks so much like Machiko Soga Bandora. Like people are blind. Like either people are blind, everyone's crazy, or I just need new glasses because no, like my fiance and I, we looked at this thing and what's up with those cheeks? Those are giant chipmunk's cheeks. Like Machiko Soga, more like my chipmunk Soga. Like give me a break. The cheeks are just awful, and then there's one face sculpt the one that they have that they're showing off. When you look at her eyes, they're not even printed on there correctly. Yes, they're printed, not painted on. They're printed, and she looks like those weird pictures that people take when you're like when the person is like half blinking, like they're like about to blink. It's like that, and it's like, what are you guys looking at? And I always say, like, I don't understand why people don't accept these criticisms or don't want to make these criticisms because, if we criticize them or if we don't buy them, then they're going to stop making them. And Hasbro is not dumb enough to buy Power Rangers and not make any toys. They're going to make toys no matter what. They have to. And now they have the shows. So they're going to be making all this stuff for Power Rangers no matter what. So I'm not saying don't buy it, but I'm just saying open your eyes and look at this thing. This thing is not that great. It's just, I get it. Some people missed out. Just like me. I sold my Power Rangers, so now I'm going to buy the new ones. Or I would like to buy the new ones. But when it looks like garbage, don't just give it a pass. Like, go ahead and buy it or whatever. But it's okay to criticize. If you love something, you could criticize it. You're allowed. You don't have to just keep giving it praise and be positive about it. So yeah, this Rita Repulsa just looks really bad. The artwork on the box, they completely changed out. So it's no longer the vector work like they did before. So it's not good. I don't like it. So yeah, let's move on to the Power Ranger special. So today, Power Rangers Once a Ranger was released on Netflix. So that's kind of the big thing right now. And I want to talk about it, but the thing is, I'm going to have spoilers in this, and I'd like for you guys to listen to the entire podcast just because I have all this stuff, and I have a segment I'm gonna have to put right here instead of the Power Rangers thing. I'll do the Power Rangers thing last, so I want to be respectful of you guys. So if you guys don't want the spoilers, you guys don't have to listen to the rest of the podcast when I get there. So we're gonna do a little bit of a core talk in this section, and it's not really any news. It's not anything big. It's just kind of, I know you guys love to hear me talk about the core. You guys, that's why a lot of people joined the channel. So I just want to talk about the core. And first thing, I want to thank one of my viewers. I'm sorry if I butcher your last name, but Jason Traber or Jason Traver. I want to thank you so much for sending me the Griffin Now, for you guys that are into the core, you might know what the Griffin is. But the Griffin is this toy. It is like a jet or whatever. It's more of a hover type vehicle where the wings have two propellers. They have a propeller on each wing. So Jason graciously sent me the Griffin. So I am fast tracking a review of the Griffin for him. So I got to do that. And also, I do have the Sky Strike. I've shown a picture of it before with my Sky Striker. So I do have the Sky Strike. And I got to also push that forward. I've had it for a few months now. So that needs to get pushed forward so I can do a review of that one as well. But I think the first one I'm going to do is definitely the Griffin. It's long overdue. It's a vehicle that no one has seen anywhere. So it's just kind of been MIA. And I know we have one of our buddies that keeps saying, oh no, it'll be in stores. Oh no, you have to buy it online. Oh no. All these excuses. Always an excuse. I really don't know why this person is such a mark for a company that it's not his company at all. So that's one thing, is that when I do core videos, when I do anything to do with the core, I want to be honest with you guys. So when I do a video on the core, I'm not just gonna knock it for the sake of knocking it because, hey, it's fun to knock things and it makes an interesting video. No, I'm gonna knock it where it needs to be knocked. So, for example, the show side paint, like that kind of stuff. It's a budget line. I totally get it. I mentioned that. But it is ridiculous that we have been having the same molds forever. For like, these molds, what is it? I believe these are 10-year-old molds that we've been getting of stuff like Rucker and all that. Maybe even, no, it's actually, no, they're 20-year-old molds for the bodies. And I understand that with the core universe, they made new bodies and this and that. But people can't get a hold of these things. They don't even know where to go. You know, I always see listings for them on Smith's, but I don't see any listings for them at Walmart. And Walmart is supposed to be one of the suppliers for the core. And sure, this guy, he might have information about where you can buy them and this and that. But it's not really being relayed to anyone. I have a feeling that this guy might work for the company, and that's why he's such a big mark for them. But, I really don't see why someone should be a big mark for them. I had friends that have worked for different toy companies before, and they weren't big marks for them. Not only that, but they would talk crap about the company. Of course, they wouldn't talk about, crap about the company on somewhere public or whatever, but, they would say, hey, the company's being like this. The company had me working on this project that's a really bad project, but the lead on the project is horrible. And, and they would try to reason with the company of why this person shouldn't be working on whatever toy line it was, and it just... it would always fall on deaf ears, and I understand that's how work is. Every time you have something, you have a concern, it's going to fall on deaf ears because, hey, the boss is always right. So I've heard stuff like that, but they weren't marks for the company. This guy is just such a shill for Leonard, and I don't understand why everything anybody says, there's always an explanation. Like, for example, I remember this post where somebody talked about the Jumanji figure of Crash. It's obviously Crash. It's Crash body, Crash's head, and he was just like, no, that's Jack Black. Are you for it? It's Crash. No, it's Jack Black. And then somebody pointed out, well, they didn't even paint the arms, because this figure of Crash has his sleeves rolled up. He's like, no, those are just sleeves underneath those are sleeves that are underneath the shirt. And it's all these far-fetched explanations. And it's just like, nobody wants to say it, but you're irritating so many people with your explanations that are obvious BS. I don't get it. Why do you have to be like that? It would be better, and you would get more people that aren't irritated at you if you were just to be like, yeah, that's funny. Maybe they should have painted in the arms. Whoops, they didn't paint in the arms. And, like, you can still be loyal and a good person towards the company or towards the toys that you like if you just admit when they're wrong. Like, I just don't get why it has to be this way. Why somebody is rooting so hard for this company. It's not Mattel, it's not Hasbro, so it's not a multi-million dollar company or $1 billion or whatever. But it doesn't matter. That company doesn't care about you. They don't care. You are a dollar sign. And when you're a shill like that, oh, holy crap, here we have somebody that's drank the Kool-Aid and now they're going all out in it. So, you can be a big fan, but when you start just doing these far out, like these reaches for like, oh, don't worry everyone, don't worry, you're going to see something new. You're going to be seeing something great and you're going to be excited. Oh, can't talk about these Easter eggs because I don't know why. Well, guess what? The website is done. The website is over. The website that had these Easter eggs. And I was like, hey, did anybody else like see? It may not have been in these exact words, but it was just, did anybody else find all the Easter eggs and figure out what it was that they were talking about? And this is for Leonard's old website. Like, if you go to this website, it doesn't even work because the core website is now under their name. And this guy was like, oh no, it's top secret stuff that they're going to be coming out with. Like, they should have already come out with this. This website is so old now. It doesn't even work. Why are you still just this big shill for this company and try the top secret? What's top secret? It's old. It's done. Just say it. It was supposed to be something fun, and now you're making it this really irritating thing that people have talked to me and been like, "What's up with this guy? This guy is annoying. Why is this guy being so secretive?" And it's like, yeah, I have my little secrets too, and things that people have said or that they've done and stuff, and I'm not gonna let it out, but I'm also not gonna be like, oh, it's top secret. Oh, my friend told me something top secret about the core. Like, it's old. Like, when my friend worked on the core, he was working on it when it was the new recruits. And I've let out just about everything I know about the new recruits that he has told me. It's not a big secret. And this website isn't a big secret either. So, this should be about the core, right? So, yeah, I got the Griffin. The Griffin is pretty cool. And it's very Leonard. So don't expect anything different. Don't expect different plastics or extra detail. They did as much detail on the Griffin as they would have with anything like the what was it? The Sky Rain or the Rainfire helicopter, so which I still never got my hands on. I've never seen that vehicle ever in person. So there's that with the Griffin, and then of course the Sky Strike. I still have it in the box. I haven't even opened it up yet. I don't think I want to open it until I'm ready to do the video on this, and this will be done when definitely before I leave North Carolina. So it's going to be a different type of video without all the outside theatrics and stuff. So that's not going to happen until I get back to San Diego. So that's a bit of core talk there for you guys. So now I want to talk about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always Netflix special for the 30th anniversary of of Power Rangers. So it just premiered, or it just released today. It premiered yesterday on the 18th. So there's a few things about this thing. Now, first and foremost, it's good. It's not terrible. It's not awful. It's good. There's things about it that are awful and dumb, but I mean that's Power Rangers for you. The story goes that the Power Rangers are fighting Robot Rita. They're fighting Robot Rita, and Robot Rita ends up trying to kill Billy, but Trini gets in the way and she gets killed herself. Billy feels terrible about this, and he's just feeling really guilty that Trini ended up passing because of him. They end up seeing Trini's daughter, and they're Zach and Billy are arguing. Should we tell her? Should we tell her that her mom was a Power Ranger? No, I don't think we should. I really think we should. No, there's rules. Zordon put these rules that we can't tell people about that we're Power Rangers. And it's like, no, rules are meant to be broken. and in kind of a wah-wah moment, Billy was like, we gotta tell her that her mom was killed by Rita Repulsa, and her daughter Min was right there, and she heard it. So that was kind of a wah-wah moment there. So Min wants revenge. She wants to kill Robot Rita, and the Power Rangers get back. They talk to Alpha about all this stuff, and Alpha puts in place something called the Bandora protocol, which is kind of a cool shout out to Zyuranger. So that was pretty cool. And basically, she is sending out these monsters. Sorry, I'm saying this out of context from memory. She sends out two monsters. One of them which can shoot out these snakes, and the snakes wrap around the Rangers and shrinks them down to the lightning collection size. So these 6-inch figures of the Power Rangers, and they put them on this shelf that powers Rita's machine, like time travel machine. So they're trying to catch all these Rangers so they could power up this one machine. And Tommy ends up getting trapped. Kimberly and Jason all end up getting trapped. And of course, Trini is gone. And you're left with the other Rangers. The Bandora protocol goes into place. And then Rocky and Kat show up. And they're there with Zach and Billy, and they end up teaming up. So it's a new team of Rangers. Yellow Ranger is still out, but of course, Min wants to be the new Yellow Ranger, and she can't because she has all this hatred and anger that Rita. I keep wanting to say Bandora. That Rita ended up killing her mom. So she can't morph. She can't turn into a Power Ranger because she doesn't have justice, truth, and justice in her soul. So, we get the typical fighting scenes, this and that. Skipping over to the end of it, Min ends up getting captured, and all these other Rangers from different series are captured on there. I did notice some SPD were there. There was Beast Morphers on there, which is one of my favorite series, by the way. There was some Beast Morphers in there. So they went the whole stretch. Power Rangers in space were in there. Oh, and the way that Robot Rita comes into play, I should say. When Zordon died, the Z whatever power ended up going throughout the universe or whatever, and it even destroyed Rita and Lord Zed's powers, and I guess they were scattered. They didn't mention that in the original Power Rangers in Space. But apparently that's what happened. And while Billy was trying to resurrect Zordon, he ended up getting the powers of Rita, which came through Zordon's broken tube. And it actually latched on to Alpha 8. At this point, we're on Alpha 8, no more Alpha 5. So Alpha 8 is the one that transforms into Robot Rita. So that's why Rita's a robot now. And they have a new Alpha, Alpha 9, in the show. So that's why she's a robot. I'm sorry, I must be terrible at telling these stories. So, same BS as always. The fighting and the planning and this and that. And we see a bunch of cameos and Easter eggs. And they formed a Zord to fight off the Snake Dude because that's the only way to be able to save all the Rangers because they were captured by the Snake Guy. Robot Rita ends up making the Snake Dude grow. And at that time, Billy, cold-blooded Billy, gets his power lance and just shoves it right through Robot Rita's chest. So that was just like, wow, okay. It's a robot, so there's no blood or guts anywhere. Just electronics. And we got Rocky, who, when they fight the monsters, Rocky lands the last blow on the Minotaur monster. So the Minotaur monster's on the ground. Rocky jumps in the air and just stabs him, and he just explodes. So there's all that. They get all the Power Zords together because Alpha 9 and Billy made it able for the Zords to be controlled by remote control. And the Megazord fights and fights the Snake Monster. Snake Monster ends up getting killed as usual. All the Rangers are free. Bandora's still alive, and she's like, "Oh, I want to go back in time so I could team up with my past beautiful self and kill the Rangers before they're able to be turned into Power Rangers." The same thing that everybody that's like, "I'm gonna go back in time and be evil" thinks. Same thing. Same idea. It's nothing original. So they end up destroying the machine because, hey, all the Rangers are free now. So they destroy the machine, and then Zack ends up using his axe bazooka and blasts Robot Rita into nothing with purple flames because the Lightning Collection figure has purple garlic that shoots out of his cannon. So that's it. End of that. Min ends up becoming the official Yellow Ranger, and that's that. There's a bunch of stuff that I missed, obviously. This is all from memory. It's just the quick rundown. Now, I did write a few notes, and then I kind of stopped just because I figured, you know what, I shouldn't be nitpicking at every little thing. I really should just make note of the big things, so they're going to come to mind. So I stopped writing notes so that I can just pay attention to the movie. Or to the special. It's about an hour long. The putties were done really well. The costumes were done a little bit different. The stripes looked like they were kind of sewn on top, but they were moving so fast that you could hardly tell. But there was one putty in particular that I noticed where he had a hood. I know that they wear hoods, and then the actors wear the hoods, and then they put the mask over the hood. But this guy had the hood over the mask, like he was wearing like a hoodie. It was really weird. So that's probably the very, very first thing that I noticed, like in the very, very opening few seconds of the thing. So so that was kind of weird. I've never seen that before. And of course they showed Trini's death, which was it was kind of fitting because she was always kind of there translating for Billy, so they were always really good friends. So that was kind of cool that they noticed that it was like, hey, she was really good friends with Billy, so of course she would sacrifice herself. She'd sacrifice herself for any of her friends, but just the fact that it was Billy was like kind of like higher on there. But when she gets shot, she does this really weird, awkward spin where it's like, if you were to get blasted, you would get, shot back. Like you'd get blasted back. You wouldn't get blasted and then start flipping forward and then backwards, and it was like there was no gravity there. It was really, really awkward. Of course, this is Power Rangers. Things are always going to be awkward. We already know this. There's already bad acting in the original show, but Min's acting in like 2 or 3 scenes was so bad. It's like, are you guys gonna do another take on that? No, just one take. That's good enough. Okay, just I guess we can move on. Because I guess digital space costs money. It's not like they're using film. So so that's another thing too. Why do people say filming where we're not using film anymore? We're using digital. That's why I say record, because we're recording, and that could be used for film or for digital. But anyway, that's just moving along. So so there was a few questions, of course, that if you've watched Power Rangers and you're a fan, there's a few questions that you're gonna have, and they do answer them. Kind of like, why is Billy here? I thought he was an Aquitar. A lot of the questions that I think they could have answered real quick as soon as they were done with like the beginning fight scene or whatever, because it just kind of throws you into the fight scene, and it's like, okay, let's watch the fight, and then go from there. But there's a lot of stuff that they could have answered quickly instead of having to wait till way past the middle of the thing, or till the very, very end. Like, Billy and Aquitar. Like, what happened to that? I thought he met someone in Aquitar and blah, blah, blah. Which I think kind of was a missed opportunity, because he's like, oh yeah, no, he says whatever the name of the person that he met in Aquitar. Oh yeah, no, she knows I'm traveling or whatever. It's like, okay, so he's still there. He's just traveling around. And then he mentions the whole Cranston Industries thing, like, really late into the thing. It's just why the command center looks the way it does. Because it's like, it's Billy's company that made this. But there's he says there's no employees involved. The company's not involved in it except for building this, like helping me build the tech. So yeah, just questions like that should have been answered so much earlier on, instead of having you wonder and having me write notes like, when did Billy come back from Aquitar? Like, I wrote that on there, and then they tell you way later. It's like, oh, okay, at least they said it. I get it, but really should have been done much earlier than later. And then kind of like in passing, while Min is talking to Zach, Zach is talking about how like he's a congressman, but he stopped being, he gave up, or not gave up, but he resigned from being a congressman so he can take care of Min. So that was kind of weird. Like, if you're a congressman but you're still a Power Ranger this whole time, I don't understand very well what that all means. So there's that. And then at that moment, I thought this was kind of cool because you've never seen this before, but they're walking, and then you hear like you hear the Triceratops. You hear them. You hear the Power Rangers calling out their powers transforming, but from afar. Like, you're not watching them transform. So I thought that was really cool because you've never seen that. And Zach's like, holy crap! Like, this is going on. I better go over there and help out. So that was really interesting and really cool. I kind of wish they would do that more often. I don't know if they do on the newer shows. I stopped after Beast Morphers, and then before that, I would watch on and off. The new show just didn't do it for me. 3 episodes in, and I called it quits. I just was not a fan of the character designs outside of the morphed thing. So like the whole alien thing, like I thought that was really stupid. But anyway, so that was kind of cool that they, he hears them calling out from afar. That was pretty awesome. And then something that I always thought that the Rangers had to call out their powers, but at that same moment when Zach goes in to help out, he does this flip, and mid-flip he transforms like nothing into Mastodon. So I don't know why they're always calling out their powers if they could just, okay, let's transform, and then they're just there. And then also not just that, but also like the gloves. They changed the outfits a little bit, so the spandex is a little bit more sparkly. It's new material, and it's fine. The material is fine on that, but the gloves, they the gloves have these triangles or diamonds on them, and they put like this rubber like tread for the diamonds, and that just looks weird. It's like just paint it or sew it on. You don't. No one's gonna notice that, and nobody, and the 2 or 3 reviews that are out now, they didn't even mention it. So it's, it was just something that just kept bugging me every time it would show like the gloves and stuff. It was like, what's up with that thing? They do a reference to the rad bug, which is cool. Actually, it has a few scenes, and the rad bug really is rad this time. It's cool. I want it. It looks like an old Woody, but like a new version. So almost like when they redid like the Thunderbird back in I think it was like in the 2000s or something. They redid the car, the old Thunderbird car, and it was very retro. It was like modern retro, and I really like that with the rad bug too. So I kind of want one of those. And there's just like a lot of fighting with like, oh, you can't be a ranger, you're too young, blah blah blah. I don't know. I understand they were trying to protect Min, but it's like, well, Trini was a teenager with attitude. She didn't really have much of an attitude. That's another thing too. Teenagers with attitude, and none of them had an attitude. Maybe teenagers with good attitudes. That's what it should have been. But yeah, no. Min was a teenager, and Trini was a teenager. So it's like, why weren't they like, oh well, you're right. But I get it. They lost their friend. They were trying to protect her from that. But that was just something kind of stuck out to me every time they would start fighting. And the command center, what I thought was cool was that they kept the design of a 90s youth planetarium, but it was a little bit more updated to be in line with like the mid 2010s, where it was like all black and it had like these prints of like planets and like spacey type stuff. Yeah, I was like, okay, still looks the same. So yeah, so that's the stuff that I wrote with the notes. But the big thing, everything was fine, everything was great, even all the eye roll stuff, whatever. It's Power Rangers. I get it. You get it. I'm allowed to say these critical things about it, and it's fine. We can all be critical about all these things. But Raz, you forgot to talk about the Megazord. Let's talk about the Megazord. So the Zords are coming out. They look fine. They come out, they kind of redo the whole thing in CGI now, so everything's all shiny and sharp and everything. Triceratops had chrome. He had chrome horns, which I thought was pretty neat, but very, very American. You got to keep in mind, Zyuranger is Japanese. Putting the chrome on all these things is very American. Even though the toy had chrome stuff, but that's because it's super alloy. So at least that's what they call it, Chogokin. So that's understandable. Aside from the Americanness of the Zords themselves, and they do the whole thing, and now they can teleport mid transformation, so they turn into the Megazord tank mode. That's the one where he's sitting down and it still has the Triceratops or the Tyrannosaurus head. And when it starts to stand up, they show the back of the knees, basically. The old shot, but this time they added like these little detail, and they kept showing it of the back legs kind of like shaking a little bit, like, oh look, it has shocks in it, and whatever. This is so much more realistic, and it stands up, and the Megazord went on a diet. After all these years, the Megazord is slim, and he's doesn't match up to what it used to be, or doesn't even match up to the Zords themselves. Everything was just so slim. And then it starts to move. Let me tell you something. We are in 2023. We've done CGI for so long now. And the CGI on this thing was just like the CGI that they used in the original Power Rangers movie. Like clunky with like I can't really explain it, but the movement was awful on this thing. It was so dumb and so cringe, and it reminded me of why I don't like Power Rangers or even Super Sentai in the modern age, because they rely so much on CGI for like the Zords and stuff, and when it's a suit, it's actually there. It moves the way that it would really move because it's there. It's right there. Of course, it moved like a human and a little bit faster than maybe it would if it was these giant electronics, these giant pistons and stuff. But this thing looks so awkward when it moved. And then on top of that, because it's a CGI Megazord, that's also fighting on the moon, by the way. The monster is also in CGI and moves just as lousy as the Megazord. It was awful. This is one of the reasons why I didn't like the Power Rangers movie originally, the original Power Rangers movie. This is the reason why, because of the CGI. This is one of the reasons. The other reason is the uniforms, but that's another thing. I know that's a controversial thing to say, but not really. So, it moves like crap. They're fighting like crap. It looks worse than if they were wearing the suits. Sure, there's a lot more detail because, hey, we have modern CGI, so you can add more detail. You can add more scratches to the Zords and this and that. But the fact that it moved like garbage, I don't know why no one has mentioned that in any of the reviews. I went through the comments on the Lightning Collection Facebook page, on the Power Rangers Facebook page. Everyone is praising this thing. And it's like, did you guys not see how bad the Megazord was moving? People were saying that was their favorite part. And I understand, you can like whatever you like. But when you just let them skate on by, when you just let companies skate on by with subpar stuff, they're going to continue to do that and never make it better. That was horrible. And then the way that they end up destroying the monster was the Megazord does like this jump and then it looks almost like he's about to put his sword away because he's holding it like in a way where it just kind of looks like he's going to put it away, and he just kind of and then he just kind of nicks the monster like on his side. And then there's like all this green blood and stuff. And he's like, oh no, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. And just like falls down and dies. I was like, really? That was your thing? Because he does like the Megazord puts his sword up. Lightning comes down. And then he does the move. And I always thought, okay, sword comes up. Lightning comes down on the sword. And then he slashes. And then bam. Done. Big explosion. No, this one was really awkward. And I'm afraid this is the way that it's going to be from now on, with Hasbro taking over and just, we're going to make our own Power Rangers series without Toei. So, so that's the future of Power Rangers, guys. Really good series, a really good special. That last fight, for me, it was really cringe. There's no way I could watch that fight scene again. I would just watch everything up to that point, and then just kind of like, all right, cool. I've had my fill. Another thing I noticed was the fact that Zack killed Robot Rita with just his cannon, and they didn't use like the power cannon or whatever they call it. That would have been nice if they all came together, built the weapon, and bam. Because with Zack being the only one to shoot Robot Rita, it just shows that she was super weak. So they didn't do that. Of course, if things could be changed, I would have had them use their blade blasters a little bit more. Oh right, they have blade blasters. Just put out all the stops. Blade blasters. They would do that thing where they stand on each other's shoulders, they charge the blade blaster and then shoot the thing. I would have done that. And I would have done the cannon. all missed opportunities right there. Those are all things that were staples of Zyuranger and of Power Rangers back in the day. Yeah, they didn't do the thing where they stand on each other with the blade blasters all the time, but they did it a few times in the beginning, and that was a staple move until they got better and they did bigger things. So all that, and then probably the most controversial thing I would have to say about this is that at the very end of the thing, they did, oh, this is a tribute to Tui Trang and Jason David Frank. No, it was a tribute to Tui Trang, and that's amazing because it was all about her and her daughter becoming, like legacy Yellow Ranger. But it had nothing to do with Jason David Frank. Not one thing. So for them to shoehorn Jason David Frank's name at the end of that thing was despicable to me. Like, oh yeah, it's for you, buddy. But they had his voice like once or twice, and that's it. And then they had his action figure. So, there was all that, but it had nothing to do with Tommy at all. So if it was me doing this, it'd be like, shoot, we just shot all this stuff for this special. Jason David Frank just passed away after we shot everything. Yeah, let's just keep the train rolling the way it's going, and let's start thinking of the next special, which everyone's gonna watch anyway. And that way they would have had another special just for Jason David Frank, who, making this a tribute to him, quote unquote tribute to him, is just a joke. And this is the guy that was like Mr. Power Ranger. He, came back so many times. He's been in there the longest. How many outfits does this guy have? So that was just a slap in the face to me. That's just what it seemed like. I don't know. People see it differently, and just because I'm talking about Power Rangers and JDF, people are automatically like, oh yeah, no, you're a hater. You hate this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't hate this stuff. I'm being critical about it, and it's okay to criticize because that's how we grow. So that was my whole thing on Power Rangers once and always, but JDF not always because you weren't in there. So anyway, okay, so moving on. That's the end of this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I decided to just take a loose, taking it loose. It's kind of like when I did off the cuff with the Power Rangers from Super 7. That's funny. Power Rangers Super 7, Power Rangers thing. And I'm just going off the cuff. I'm not really, I'm writing a few notes, but I'm not following a script. Hopefully I'll be making more of these, but for episode number 1, Raz Holly, I hope you enjoyed the Ruby Bandit Super Secret Fan Club podcast. See you on the next one.